Good afternoon and welcome to Counsel with the Consules II here on the East Kingdom Ethereal servers. Your Majesties, you had Curia this morning. I hope it went well.
I think it did. Yeah.
You are paving the way with a first Ethereal Curia, so hopefully this sets a good precedent going forward.
I think it was nice.
What was that?
Oh, I think it was nice. I think it was nice to take distance off the table. And I thought that our web team did a really good job about making it accessible. I was impressed that we were able to get some closed captioning going, and kind of the technology cooperated with us, and that's always encouraging.
I'm super glad to hear that. Super glad to hear that. So we do have some questions for you from the populace that we've collected over the last couple of weeks. And before we jump into those, you had your first Ethereal Court 2 weeks ago. You want to talk about it? Talk about how it went?
Ooh, you want an honest answer?
Yes.
It was great and really, really weird. It was really weird because the part that I really like about Ethereal Court is the fact that we're pre-recording almost all of the awards, because those moments where the community comes together, the orders are there, I think is fantastic. But it did mean that His Majesty and I spent some of the time watching ourselves talk, and that's not an activity I normally engage in. And so that was weird. It was weird to...
Yeah, all the courts that we did when Margarita was on the throne, I didn't go back and never watch them. I just, it's like, hey, great, yay, all right, we did a great court. We'll see you next time, that kind of a thing. So yes, definitely watching us kind of talk through all of those other things was really interesting to watch me say stuff.
Right. It's like getting to, and I'm sure for you as well, right? It's like you get to start court and then walk out into the audience and sit with everybody else as it runs itself for a little bit and then hop back up.
Yeah, definitely very weird. Very weird. I am not the person who listens to myself talk very often. And certainly not on TV. So that's it's definitely different. It's very different. We the heralds in the community that have kind of been in this situation before, we're like, yeah, this is not the same at all, and yet still the same.
Well, what was really good for me was I'm part of a Toastmasters group, so they actually go watch my courts for all that kind of stuff, and I got some really good positive feedback from them saying, hey, you're doing a great job. You're not doing this as much as you used to as you were doing your speeches in our meetings. So you're doing great. Keep it up. And I went, wow, okay. So people outside the SCA are watching my stuff.
Fantastic. So for those that are not familiar, can you talk about Toastmasters for just a second? I'm familiar with it, but I know there are some people that are not.
Toastmasters is an international speaking group. There's lots of local Toastmaster groups in the area. Basically, they help you with public speaking and directing things for the audience. They help you with the body language like I'm doing now, and all of those other really good things.
Yeah, it's if you're not familiar, definitely look up Toastmasters. I'm not sure how they're functioning in the ethereal world right now, in the virtual world.
They are having virtual meetings just like we all are right now.
That's awesome. That's awesome, because getting if public speaking is going to be anything that you do later on down the road, it's definitely worth investing some time into that. I've known a few people that are invested in Toastmasters.
And honestly, on the flip side, as someone who was comfortable with public speaking before, I can see a real advantage to internet public speaking is different.
It is. Yes, it is.
Yes, very different. Very different. So the first question that came from the populace is, what's the furthest event that you've traveled to? Where did you go?
The furthest I've gone was, I would say, Estrella out in Aidenvelt, right? So going to Arizona. I think just geographically, that's the farthest I've been.
It was a little disheartening, but the furthest event I was going to be traveling to was Gulf Wars. But so the furthest event I actually traveled to, and the distance is almost equal, depending on where you're sitting in the kingdom, is when Ethelmark was still part of the East, and I drove to Ice Dragon, and then because it was in Pennsylvania, almost close to Penzic. But no, all right, fine.
Ice Dragons in Ridrick Hill, it's Buffalo.
Okay, well,
It was all east at the time.
Anyway, so it's either going to be Penzic, the farthest 8 hours, or in Malagentia, the 8 hours north in Maine.
Those are both good ones.
Yes, they are.
Maine's really big.
Yes, it is. Because we had a crown tournament right where Lady Cassier and I used to go for vacations out that way, like way up north.
The one that was held by Endoward a couple years ago?
Brennan's crown tourney, where he won crown tourney, was knighted all on the same day.
So that was about 6 years ago.
Yes.
So it would have been Malagentia. So yes, definitely Maine is large. I may have some experience in that.
Right, and it wasn't that far from Bar Harbor, so I was hit or miss whether after the event I actually hit Bar Harbor for going home or not. So
right. People forget, I think, how big Maine is. It's about 10 hours from crossing the New Hampshire border to the tippy top.
Yeah.
And I've lived pretty close to the tippy top, so it's expansive. And so when I talk about traveling for 4 hours as being a day trip, people are like, really? That's a day? Yeah. Because I used to have to travel 4 hours in Maine.
right.
So, yeah, driving is a thing that I do. I enjoy it for sure. So Your Majesty, Tindal, you said you went to Estrella out in Attenveld. Was there a particular reason or just for fun?
Well, first of all, it's a tremendous war. And it's a lot of fun. It's always fun to get to see the Western kingdoms that I see at Penzic so often, but to go there when it's not a handful of them, but a handful of Easterners amongst the expansive kingdoms out there. And of course, what any good Eastern prince is doing in February, which is trying to solidify some Penzic allegiances before we get too close, which, was less necessary in retrospect, but still a good time.
Good. Absolutely. So we're talking about the weird times and the pandemic. Right now, we're unable to have any events through the end of January.
Yep.
A question got asked, once we reopen and we're allowed to have events again, within limits, what do you anticipate some of the events that you'd like to attend are? What kinds of events would you like to go to?
All of them. I think the events that I'm looking forward to the most are kind of the activities that we've placed on pause a little bit. And what I have at the forefront of my mind are, as we get ready for this winter and we're going to have the opportunity with ANS champs and Bardic champs to do some turnover there, I'd love to come out of this and see, in my mind, we're going to have to start small. But I'd still love to see some community-specific events where we can really focus on perhaps a day of archery or a day of thrown weapons, and not only celebrate that community, but also, move along for people that have been sitting in a champion's position for, they'll know better than I, but probably at least a year at that point.
And Your Majesty Alberic, what kind of events are you interested in seeing?
This pretty much the same thing. We're both on the same page about all of that stuff. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
and there were some specific questions, some guidance in regards to, like, for example, in New Jersey, presently you can have an indoor event of 25 people. Should the event ban be lifted in February and those kinds of caps still happen, are you interested in attending smaller events? And of course, that impacts your entourage in terms of how many people you can bring with you.
Well, it'll also impact the event. So if we show up with at least 4 people, that's 4 of the local people that can't go. So that'd be something that we'd have to look into. I'm not opposed to them having their 25 person event once it gets lifted, and us maybe sending a message of a video source or something like that to them saying, hey, have a great event, that kind of stuff.
Well, and we also have local representatives in many of our baronies as
Right.
the landed baronage there, that sometimes that will apply. I think the concern that, you know, His Majesty and I showing up takes 2 right off the top. If we show up with a herald and even 1 or 2 attendants, we become a significant percentage of that event. I think that just kind of from a purely logistics on our end, I think one of the things that may enable us to do is, as we start to look forward, having given out some writs in court, that some of those may end up becoming more appropriate places to manage an in-person peerage ceremony rather than us attending an entire event. Because the other thing is, like, if we were to have court and there's 15 people in the room, I'm not sure the impact of, I like to see people when I give them awards, but if you make all of their friends stay home so that I get to see them, I don't know that that's the experience that the recipient is looking for.
I really don't think it's be fair to the populace being able to have events, local events for us showing up and taking like a percentage. So I'd really like to see the local events happen after it happens, after the ban gets lifted, but that's still a few months away, and who knows what's going to happen between now and then.
That's very true. It's very true. I know I had shared after our recording session on Thursday, that one of the things that I like a lot is getting to see, and part of the reason I became a herald was because I get to see up close and personal somebody's reaction to receiving an award. And one of the things that I like now that we get to do this ethereally, virtually, is that everybody gets to see that, because those moments are really kind of awesome.
They are. And one of the things, this is I'm going to say something I like, but I'm adjusting to. I love the fact that we're holding the scrolls and the scroll text for the live courts. One, we get to see it. It gets to be a surprise. It's kind of that additional, stick around for to be continued element. But I'll be honest, in my head, the pacing of talking to someone, like I build to a moment and then I look to my herald who's going to say the scroll text and then there's a wrap up. There isn't that moment of we said nice things, they liked it, then they get to hear the scroll text and then we wrap up. And so it's interesting to kind of adjust the pacing of talking.
We don't get to have that personal connection with our Vox. Being that
Right.
way, to be able to turn to you and whisper things to each other and make sure we got things right and then present it. So we don't have that luxury. So
Yeah.
that is something that I will, once we get back to in-person kind of things, if we're still on who knows what's going to happen with that, but having that interaction.
We'll get at least one in-person event.
Okay.
Boy, oh boy, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only time we got to play together as a unit was at Mimir's back in March.
Yes.
And we shut down.
Yes.
Yeah, it's I mentioned that to my Pelican Master Rowan, and I said, that's one of the things that's really hard to judge. We don't have that physical cue.
Yeah.
The turn and look, the eye from the corner. We don't have those little things. We kind of have to wing it. I have to figure out when you're gonna stop talking. And
Yeah.
I've been trying to do work on my queuing with you just to so
Right. On the other hand, I'm hoping that we can cover some of that in post-production, right? We get the favor of editing, right? Like, I will admit my own dropping the ball moments. Like if I look down and I have a sheet of paper that I skipped to the wrong note on, or I get confused as to which exact award we're giving out kind of thing. Those are things where I know I would have gotten a tap on the shoulder and a redirection. And so maybe we get a little bit of squeeze there where some of my live errors don't become forever errors.
I think we're going to be okay. We have a pretty good editing team in the background.
Yes, we did.
They're pretty awesome. So we've talked a little bit about events. Sir Cedric had actually posted relatively recently, and we talked about it at the beginning of Ethereal Court a couple of weeks ago, that there are some states within their own guidance that are now able to have full contact rattan practice. New York State, much like Maine, is not one of those states.
Correct.
How are you handling your prowess? You're both fighters. How are you handling keeping that prowess up?
I still do appel work at least every other week, just to keep the arm moving right, and so that's about what I do.
I'm getting rusty. Straight up, I'm getting rusty. I'm still working out. I have some fairly active children that I get to jump into workouts with, throwing lacrosse in the backyard, running with my son and whatnot. So as far as conditioning, I'm good. For maintenance of fighting form, I'm going to need some time with some other people at some point, and that's I know that walking back in, like I'm hoping I've retained the ideas of what I'm supposed to be doing, but the training I'm going to need some practices.
What's going to worry me is once we get into these fall months and we are actually allowed to go back to in-person contact again like that, is actually trying to be able to find an indoor site that'll allow that, just because of these COVID times. That's my worry.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look for some gymnasiums and things like that, and those are all school oriented typically, and they're pretty locked down right now.
Yes.
It's true. Availability of sites is going to be a hurdle for sure.
Definitely. The East overcomes a lot of things though, so I anticipate they're going to be all right. They'll figure things out for sure. There was some question as to whether or not, when the ban is lifted and we can start meeting in person again, are you going to continue to encourage and you yourselves have have ethereal courts that happen periodically to encourage the interaction from the far reaches of the kingdom, like northern Tirmara and southern Karadiment, things like that? Is that still something that you're interested in doing, is having these ethereal communications with your people?
All right. I think I'm going to go out a little bit on a limb here. I think the continued internet interaction is probably going to be a thing that we're going to live with for a while. And I support that. I think that one of the greatest joys of being on the throne is getting to not just recognize people, but go to events and spend time with them. And so I would hesitate to use internet accessibility as a way to avoid the far reaches of the kingdom. But I think that there are definitely, as much as there are people who virtual courts are not right for them, there are some people that it may be the right choice for in certain circumstances. And so I think my answer may end up being that as we move in the future, when things return to what we were used to before, I don't think we have to give up what we've learned to return to what we have. But I don't think that anything is going to ever be the right answer for everyone, but it can still be a tool.
I agree. And I think it's important that people know that they still have that option. Just because your majesties don't do it as frequently, people can still use the tools that we have provided to us now to connect. I think it's huge. I, on the other hand, am a hugger, and I'm having a really need to hug my people day.
Yeah.
So we've got some really awesome events coming up that are ethereal, and they center around performance and bardic communities. One that's coming up in October, I know, that I've seen float around social media, is a play that is done by several people in the East and abroad, Henry V. We had talked about this the other day. Is that a thing that you're going to be representing and watching and encouraging your people to participate in?
Yes.
I think that's an of course kind of answer to that.
There are a lot of Easterners that are participating in that, and I believe Mistress Alice is the one that's actually spearheading that.
As long as whatever venue they're performing it in can handle the number of people who are going to want to attend, then yes, I would definitely encourage people to go watch and participate.
And honestly, and that can be as true on the internet, right? Like you can lose track of we may have lived through this in an awards night. You can lose track sometimes of the draw that you're going to have. And so sometimes when we all get excited about something, the anticipation of exceeding numbers is a real concern. But like, I'm gonna go backwards. Like, I loved getting to do commentary and watch the Golden Lance Equestrian tournament, and looking forward to the play. I know that there are a couple other performances and videos being worked on, and we're moving towards ANS champs, Bardic champs. I am really looking forward to people kind of seizing the opportunity to be the highlight in someone's day, because I know the horses were that for me, and I'm looking very much forward to the other performances.
Yeah, and I know you're participating in a performance in November. You and I both are. We're both participating in Beowulf, the ethereal event, which is being directed by a former Eastern Laurel, Master Choki, which you guys are very familiar with, who's now in Ethelmark, and it's being sponsored by the East. So that's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be over 2 days, because it's very long. And you have a part. I have a part. Viscount Cullen has a part. Several Easterners have a part.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a lot of fun, and there's going to be a lot of faces that are not normally seen in Bardic events.
I was actually a part of the original production of Beowulf and Concordia. A couple things had happened, and I turned out to become the event steward for the epic event Beowulf and everything like that. Master Joel was basically he set the stage, and we all helped out creating that. So it's a lot of fun. So I would definitely encourage people to go see Beowulf. I myself was not really comfortable performing in Beowulf because I was Beowulfed out.
I can't imagine why. I heard the original production was quite the show. So I am looking forward to participating in the ethereal event, Beowulf, as produced now. So it will be very interesting to do. And I know there's also, I believe on the 24th, there's a East Kingdom College of Performers Winter Nights Tales competition as well. So that'll be a lot of fun. And I know that they're looking for activity from new bards as well. So it's nice to see those communities really excelling in our current environment. They're encouraging growth. It's really nice.
Yeah, and also kind of like facilitating the unique collaborations, as you were saying, seeing new faces in Bardic, but also being able to work with people from other kingdoms in a much smoother and more seamless way.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on, and it's really nice to see. I think the society as a whole has sort of become more together through all of this. I know we're seeing it in the Scribal community as well. There's a lot of inter-kingdom Scribal classes going on. They do a Scribal every Sunday night, which I have yet to actually successfully get to. It's going to happen, but I'm busy.
Yeah, I am sure we are keeping you busy. I'm sure that you are
just a little
well tasked with everything we're asking you to do. And hold on, I'm going to take over. So you've been Vox before, right?
Nope.
This is your first time?
This is your first time, yeah.
All right.
Roadshow.
But you are an experienced herald.
Yes.
Right? Would you say, because in Curia today, we heard our web minister, Matthias, talking about kind of like the amount of work that goes into producing an Ethereal Court, right? Much like any movie or television show, your runtime is not indicative of your work time. So live courts versus what's going on, how much is your workload increasing?
You know, I'm not sure that it's maybe increased a bit. Primarily because I'm helping to organize the flow of information to get to the produced piece at the end. Previously, Crown Herald, they would have a couple hours during the week and then be lambasted on whatever the event was. They were busy from start to finish the day of the event. Now that workload is spread out more. So now we have, a recording session once a week. But in the meantime, we're sending out emails to all of the various order lists. We're interacting between Her Grace Duchess Attain and I. We're interacting with the recipients and those people to try and make sure that we get those people to the recording sessions. And for those that like surprises, we're trying to keep those a surprise. I think we've succeeded on a couple of levels. Certainly with some of them, and that makes me very happy because I know some people really do like surprises. So that workload is spread out different, and there's a little bit more to it. There are a few more moving pieces. One of the things that I started doing with this most recent court, our first court, was I wanted to involve other heralds because heralding is the thing that I love. It's where I found my place. And I wanted to give that opportunity to other heralds. So they're actually, you heard some different voices in the last court when they were doing the scroll texts, just like you would in a regular court. And so I wanted to include that and make it not me all the time.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And actually, that I'm going to go back to Matthias from this morning. I think that one of the things that's important to remember, I'm going to echo his call for, if you're sitting out there and you've been watching courts in any way and you're like, oh, hey, that's something I know how to do or wish I knew how to do or could maybe help a little bit with, is the thing that's not happening is in a normal time, we'd move event to event to event. And so though it was a large ask on you as our Vox or on us, the surrounding support would change as we went to different physical locations.
Right.
That web ministry staff is staying the same. The people that are putting it together. And so, we're, I'm going to use some words that Her Grace Attain would not be happy with, but as we enter into the forever uncertain times, right, it's easy for those people to make the commitment for right now. But I'm looking at the same way we're talking about. We don't have live events before February for sure, right? That's months of asking these same people to keep us running. There are going to be times where they need to step away just to remain human or for other commitments. And the larger pool of people we have that may have been involved in events before that can support in some way now is going to become invaluable.
Yeah, so we're talking about that, and we've referred to it a couple of times, and I know we've shared it on social media and the Gazette and the website. let's talk about that timeline. What does this timeline look for us behind the scenes? Let's help other people understand all of the moving pieces that are happening. You have a set behind you right now that on Thursday, we're not recording this Thursday. You're recording stuff for a special video this Thursday.
Yes. Yes. The plan is for us to record for the East Kingdom thriller video. We should pop up some promotional stuff about that after this when I can get back to computer or whatnot. But yeah, using a non-awards night to just continue to get together and do fun things for the kingdom. But yeah, the backgrounds behind us, those have been changing a lot. And that really is coming out of the barony of Concordia. I know that they're getting together and there's a whole nother set that's going to show up for the next set of awards. We're recording in October that will go live in November, and plans for kind of each month moving forward.
So let's talk about that timeline. What does that look like for us? We're going to start recording here for November on October 8th, but we have Ethereal Court on October 11th.
Yes.
So that's really confusing for us. Everybody else sees this seamless package that goes out.
All right, so this is my weirdo-ness. This is my weirdo-ness. I'll step away from the SCA. Like, I've been involved in video production for a long time. I spent some time working at a television station. This absolutely makes sense in my head. What we're doing is each court is its own discrete production, right? And so you have a premiere date. You set the premiere date. Let's say it's October 11th. And you need to get everything in the can. You need to film everything in September so that you have some editing lead time so that that can air in October. Effectively, when we get to the end of September, if you've ever watched like a television show finish, you wrap on certain people. And so the court for September will be wrapped, edited, and then shown in October. We get to be live, and so it's a little bit hairy there. But then you start production on the next court. And so you start filming on the next court, it's just an entirely different production than your previous court. Each one, it's like we're making a giant East Kingdom cinematic universe.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, like, for example, we're going to do some service awards recording on October 8th that will air for the November court. You're going to have a completely different background behind you. And then your awesome team there on site is going to swap that background back to October.
Yes.
The set that we used all September for all those recording sessions. So that way, when we're live on the 11th, your set looks the same. You're going to be in the same clothes. You're going to, everything's going to look the same, and it's going to look as seamless as we can make it.
Right. And, you have people that volunteer to be in attendance because they think they're supporting you, and they don't know that what they're really going to be doing is maintaining continuity of which panel went where, what clothes were you wearing, how was it draped, what crowns were you wearing, what was on the table in front of you. It's an entirely different skill set. And honestly, it's been fantastic to watch people jump into that and say, it's not what I signed up for, but I'll learn how to do it.
Yeah, definitely. It's not what I signed up for, but here we are doing the thing. So we're looking at a group of relatively experienced people that are currently kind of handling this role, right? Like, our staff is pretty experienced. We've all kind of been around the SCA and been around the roles that we're kind of running. But we're starting to see an influx of new people that are appearing. How can you encourage them? What can they do to help?
Go ahead.
So without the in-person contact, they really need to connect to their local group, their local shadow lane, to really get the information and the basically the 411 of what the SCA is, and then try to participate in all of the online activities that we have, just to kind of learn what we're kind of doing in that arena. So I would hope that they would basically touch base with the local shadow lane and to explore out from there and have the local shadow lane say, here, this is something you may be interested in, and go for it.
Awesome. Awesome. And so I want to jump back. We were talking about the TV timeline. There's a group of people that's affected pretty dramatically, right? Not just us, but the scribal community.
Yeah.
Very heavily impacted, because now they have instead of the scroll needs to appear at the event on 10/11, they now have a couple of different deadlines that they're trying to hit to make everything work. So I think it's really important that we acknowledge all of their work. They've gone sort of above and beyond through all of this to try and come to terms with everything that's going on and all of the dates that we're throwing at them.
Yeah. And I think, one, super appreciative of the work they're doing to make sure that people that are being recognized still are getting their scrolls, because it's such a significant portion of being able to go back and look at something that reminds you of what happened, when it happened, the people that thought you were deserving, and the recognition you received. But I think that it's that adjustment that we're all going through. Is we've been doing things for so long, and it changed much faster than we've been doing it for. And so, like, the pacing of, oh, here's when I get an assignment, here's how long I have to work. Like, some people work close to a deadline, some people space it out. And it's not just that it's a new undertaking, it's that it's different than a system you may have worked out that works. And I think that's the biggest hurdle. And I'm really impressed with people's ability to be flexible and make that adjustment, because it really is, that is one of the toughest things to do.
It does take a lot of coordination from the Signet office when, by the time you decide that, yes, this scroll is going to happen, to assign the scroll assignment, because the scroll assignment can be split up amongst two people. Somebody's doing the calligraphy, someone else is doing the illumination, and trying to, in these times,
And a
get
wordsmith.
wordsmith kind of goes to the calligrapher and the word, right?
Not always.
But anyway,
I'm
trying
just being a pain.
doing the coordination, all of that is a tremendous feat, and I thank the Signet office and all of the illuminators and scribes and wordsmiths out there are putting the work into doing this.
She said,
Yeah. I know that I've got a stack of scrolls here that I'm traveling out your way in a couple of weeks. I'm bringing with me so you can sign them.
Yay!
I was talking with Her Excellency Kassir the other day, and I said, you know what? These are going to be really close to the time I would be signing and sending them out anyway. So I'm going to bring them with me, and we'll do it that way. That'll be a lot of fun. So I look forward to that. That's really the end of the questions. Do you guys have anything that you want to talk about? You have a little bit of time here that we can just chit chat.
Okay, so one of the things that we kind of really enjoyed doing was doing the commentary, as His Majesty said, about the equestrians. So I'm kind of curious to try to put that out there and try the East Kingdom Sports Network going, the Primo, keep that going, is maybe we can do like a similar thing with people doing thrown weapons and doing their scorings, or the archery community and doing their royal round scorings and that kind of a thing. So I thought that might be a kind of a cool thing to do. I'm not currently, logistic wise, I don't know how that could happen, because we do have a lot of archers, and watching all those videos would probably be taunting. But still, I think I like the idea of doing that in at least doing like a sports commentary in our courts, maybe going to, hey, and now the royal round scores, that kind of thing. We could probably try to work that in.
I anticipate there being a lot of royal round scores, but I love the idea of people coming up with ideas that we can kind of sponsor and promote in some way. When I'm thinking, like, the thriller video was not our idea.
No, it was not.
Right? I'm happy that we're going to get to participate in it. I am overjoyed that I'm going to get to see it. But the same thing with the Golden Lance tournament. That wasn't necessarily our idea. That was the equestrian community. And so I would love it if there were people that had an idea in the back of their head that they just didn't quite know how to execute, or just needed a little bit bigger team to come to us with wouldn't it be neat if, and then facilitate bringing them together with other people within that community, or that had those skills that could then blossom those projects into something that exists.
It's a good thing you mentioned that, because somebody had mentioned a suggestion to me that I was going to bring up to you, but now I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
It had been suggested to me about having some sort of meeting, interaction, story time, something with our tiny tigers, and doing something on Zoom where you can interact with the youth, and they get to see you, and they get to spend time with you and coordinate with that. I know Mistress Leonette and Tola had both expressed an interest in organizing that. So I'm going to put you on the spot now and say, I think that's a thing that we should look at doing, making sure you guys get to connect with the youth as well.
I like that idea. I like that idea. And I would suggest that they both contact our Chancellor Minor to try to help facilitate that kind of idea, and kind of put Hugueline on the spot for a little bit and have her kind of direct the traffic on that, just so that, because doing that kind of stuff, and we would probably have to get background checked if we haven't already been background checked after we stepped up, to be able to do that kind of interaction. So that'd be something that our mistress of Chancellor Minors would be able to.
I like that you're saying the concern out loud, because I often just think these things are okay.
Yes.
And don't check them.
Right.
So I think checking them is fine. I think that if we wanted to do milk and cookies with the consoles,
that would be great. I would totally be on that.
I know that I would sit here and listen to His Majesty tell some fantastic stories. I can't think of anything that I would say.
I would probably contact our predecessor, Contessa Margarita, because she was instrumental in doing some of those videos where she actually read the books to our tiny tigers on her own Facebook kind of thing, and probably get some tips from her on how to convey that.
Yes, that would be really cool. I hope I could just tell stories, because I don't read so well.
Yes.
But well, of course, we could also do, like,
yeah,
I'm just thinking.
But that would be a lot of fun to have a live interaction via Zoom with the youth. And I think Hugueline would be a great resource for that. And Mistress Leonette, I know she likes to rouse the tiger's cubs quite frequently, and she wants to coordinate some stuff like that as well.
Cool.
You're getting side feedback. I can see it.
Yes.
Well, so
yes.
We have some fantastic attendants that are feeding us some comments from the chat that we are not necessarily seeing, because we're paying very close attention to you.
It's okay. I can't see the comments from the chat either.
But apparently there may be some positive reaction to doing some royal rounds,
Excellent.
archery and throne.
All right.
So
great.
again, I'm going to let His Majesty's wonderful idea fall on him to work out the logistics there.
Yes, thank you.
You have champions that can coordinate those kinds of things.
That is correct.
We do.
Yeah. Yeah, you do.
And
And
at least one of them's really good on the web.
Yes, they are.
Yes, he's not present today, but I think he's taking a break, and I
Yes,
like that he's taking a
good.
break. And next month we're gonna do Counsel with the Consules, but I'm not gonna be here. So I think we have some plans because I'm gonna be traveling. Our plans are to talk about the Arts and Sciences Championship and the Bardic Championship with your champions.
I think we are working out the logistics of how many people we're going to get to talk to. But I think even if it just ends up being His Majesty and I talking about how wonderful Arts and Sciences and Bardic is for a while, I'm sure we can get some people to talk with us. But it felt like an October time. Mistress Lissa, our Minister of Arts and Sciences, this morning in Curia was talking about November being the deadline for registering for the ANS champions. The display as well as the competition was a fantastic way to allow everyone at every comfort level to be involved. And the end of October, right before a registration deadline, seemed like a really good time to remind everyone that we can all be displaying something or competing or going to watch and appreciate the other Easterners that are displaying and competing. But more on that when we're talking next month.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking forward to it. I'm absolutely looking forward to it. Your Majesties, do you have closing thoughts?
Go right ahead.
All right. It's lovely to talk to you. It's always fantastic to be interacting with the East Kingdom, be it an amazing Curia or recognizing subjects or just talking. This entire process has been a new adventure, and it's really encouraging the amount of support and encouragement that's happening across the kingdom that's keeping everyone involved. I'm looking forward. I often right now I'm saying, with caution that winter's coming, but more and more each day, I feel like we're prepared to stay connected and to find ways to keep the spirit of the East alive, regardless of what's happening outside.
And I'm hoping that this format, as going forward and to continuing, is more helpful to our populace and to our team, just so that we don't all burn out trying to do so many courts virtually, so that we don't burn out our teams.
I'm a big fan of not burning out.
Yes.
Your Majesties, it's been a pleasure speaking with you today. To the people of the East, we do have Ethereal Court on October 11th, starting at 4 p.m. That will be live broadcast to the YouTube channel. Stay tuned for that. And the next Counsel with the Consules will appear on October 25th. That time will shift just a little bit so that we're not back up against the Henry V play. So keep an eye out for that. Those events will be published.
Right, and still committed to watching that play before I talk to anyone. So,
excellent. I look forward to it. Thank you very much, Your Majesties. It's been a pleasure, and you guys have a wonderful evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your night as well. I feel like we should do like a freeze frame high five. Yeah. I am perfectly happy saying that.